That's right. I do believe diamonds are the girl's best friend, and I have Jim Bohannon on the line. What do you think, Jim?
Oh, definitely. Diamonds are a girl's second best friend.
Second
Next
best.
to
Who's
you,
first? Who's first?
Oh, you would be first because you can provide the diamonds.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Jim Bohannon.
Merry Christmas to you, Anne Eller.
So, how is it up there in Washington, D.C.? Is it cold?
Not terribly. No, we're sitting in the general vicinity of about 38 right now, so not too bad for December.
Not too bad. Well, you can always hear Jim Bohannon right here on WCRS, 10p to 1 a.m., and then he comes back at 6 a.m. and updates us on what's going on till 7 a.m. I thought that was an interesting panel you had put together last night to talk about the stories of 2014 and those that faded so quickly.
Well, yes, it certainly was amazing to look back on a few things like the missing Nigerian girls or the missing Malaysian air flight, stories we haven't really kept up with.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And so many, and, it's right. We just get a big story and everybody follows it, and then, boom, it dies. I just wonder, when we look at what's happening right now, it seems every time we talk, there's always a lot of good stuff going on out there, Jim.
Well, there certainly is. The news never ends, and for people in our business, that's good news indeed.
Absolutely. So, I was curious, what do you think about the fact that the president just has decided to go ahead and normalize relationships with Cuba?
Well, even the president and his penchant for executive orders may find it difficult to do this completely. For one thing, there'll be some money involved, and Congress, including the new Republican Senate as well as the House, will have to okay that. So in terms of how he can go about it, he will need, I think, some Republican cooperation. In terms of whether it's a good idea, well, I know people point out that the embargo didn't work that well, although it would have if our allies, I put that in quotes, had gone along with it. A lot of people have made comparisons with how we trade with China, but the fact is that China is a pretty much self-sufficient country. We had enough leverage on Cuba that we could have probably ended the Castro reign of terror back in the 70s if other countries had gone along. So, granted, they're never going to go along, and at this juncture, I'm afraid it will wind up propping up Raul Castro. And people who think that, well, Raul Castro is 82 and he can't last forever. No, but one of his deputies can. It's not like you can go to the Havana primary and vote these people out of office. So we'll see. But I'm not thinking that China's going to Cuba, rather, is going to change much at all, frankly. They may open up a little bit economically, but politically they'll still be a repressive regime.
Yeah, I happened to be listening to Megyn Kelly last night, and she was saying that possibly the reason that the president had gone out and done this is because it would be a way to close down Gitmo, the thing he hasn't been able to get done yet.
Well, it wouldn't automatically lead to the closing of Guantanamo Bay. That's our base, and there's no direct connection between the two. Obviously, this is something the president's wanted to do forever and always, and he took that terrible swap that we made for Alan Gross and the unnamed American for 3 outright Cuban spies. I'm happy that Mr. Gross is back in this country. He should never have been arrested and jailed for 5 years in the first place. But again, like we did with the Bo Bergdahl case, one probable traitor for 5 Taliban leaders, a bad trade in that regard. And Gitmo, it's a strange thing about that, and a lot of people seem to think that the terrorists of the world cannot stand the southern coast of Cuba. No, they can't stand that we have the gall to defend ourselves. That's what upsets them. And if you close Gitmo, and if you open up another high-security prison in the U.S., aside from spending several $1 billion to do so and not having as much security as you have on the coast of Cuba, you will still have a symbol of recruitment for these people. It's not Guantanamo. It's not anything other than the fact that we're defending ourselves. That's their recruiting tool. And this notion that Guantanamo is this terrible symbol is mistaken.
Well, I have not been to Guantanamo, but I do understand it's not too bad a place to visit, though, Jim.
Well, I'll put it this way. You and I wouldn't want to live there, but for people who've never had adequate dental care or nutrition in their entire lives, it's most everybody who's there has seen a lot worse than what they have now.
Yeah. So, anyways, but she was just saying that possibly that they could come together on this and affect something. Something about the treaty says if both sides agree, then something could be done about it. So I thought that was an interesting point because it doesn't really seem logical, does it, Jim, that he'd just go out and do this?
Well, first of all, he's always wanted to. I mean, this is a man who is from the far left of the Democratic Party, people who always think that any dictatorship on the right is the devil incarnate, but any dictatorship on the left is just a playful bunch of agrarian reformers. They made the same kind of lame excuses for Mao Zedong and Ho Chi Minh and Pol Pot and all the rest of that murderous butchering crowd. So it's the same thing. I mean, in some circles in this country, Fidel Castro, one of the genuine evil dictators of the 20th century, he's still a rock star to some of these people. So he did it principally because he always wanted to, and I think he was liberated by the November election. He got the stuffing kicked out of him, so he figures, what the heck? What are you going to do? Saddle me with a Republican Senate? I'll just do what I always wanted to do, and he's doing that on a number of issues.
He is. I had Jeff Duncan on the show yesterday, Congressman Jeff Duncan from our area, and he said what his fondest wish is to be able to send a bill a day to the president's desk, and that he gets so tired of vetoing them that he gets a stamp to be able to veto them.
Well, that's where we are in gridlock. Instead of legislation now dying when Harry Reid doesn't let it reach the Senate floor, come January, the bills will die on the president's desk. But until the public makes up its mind, I mean, the public elected Obama to 2 terms, and it elected a Republican Congress. If the public ever makes up its mind, and there are a lot of people out there, the numbers alone tell you a lot of people out there voted for Obama for re-election and Republicans in Congress. Those are people who don't know what the hell they're doing. Make up your mind. Either you like Obama's policies, in which case give him a Congress he can work with, or else you don't like his policies, in which case don't vote to re-elect him.
Yeah, it is. And what do you think about the future next year? I mean, everybody was all excited when the Republicans took over the Senate. Of course, we just went through this budget deal, which didn't make much sense to me. What do you think about the future here?
About you mean the future
happening
on Capitol Hill?
Well, things happening on Capitol Hill.
Well, a lot of things will get passed. There'll be a lot of things that'll pass both houses of Congress. I mean, the president's number of vetoes will go through the roof. He'll veto a lot of things. Gridlock really hasn't changed, and some of the differences that exist are so severe that they'll continue. I mean, I don't expect to see a lot of deal-making that takes place. There may be some. There was a deal, of course, not to shut down the government simply because the public has been conditioned to knee-jerk reflex and assume that if the government shuts down, it's a terrible thing, and those nasty Republicans did it. So tactically, it was a smart move on the part of the Republicans not to shut down the government.
But why did they go ahead and do a budget all the way through September? Why didn't we just do another CR? We're good at doing CRs.
I think they went further than they needed to, honestly. But again, they did not want to be accused of another government shutdown. Republicans always take a hit at the polls when that happens. So, yeah. But I don't think they needed to go as long as they did.
No, I don't either. I think they could have done a shorter one and then gone back in and negotiated. But you know,
yeah,
then we
they still of course did a short deal on Homeland Security, which is where the immigration dollars are tied up.
Yeah,
so.
You know, last time you were on, he had just announced that the immigration executive order.
Oh yeah.
But what about this Sony hacking? What do you think there? I mean, you know, now they're talking about something's got to be done to Korea, but they're not sure they can do something to North Korea. What do you think?
Of course, we can do things to North Korea. I mean, if we don't have the offensive cyber capability, we certainly should have, and we should never have not had it. But if we don't have a cyber capability, then bomb one of their naval bases, bomb one of their air bases, blow up one of their steel mills. This is an act of war. And to sit back and take this is just another example of the vacuum heads who run the foreign policy of this administration. To say we can't do anything is ridiculous. We can do a lot.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about Sony just pulling the whole thing?
Oh, that was lame. I mean, the Sony, the entire board of directors of Sony ought to serve on the Obama cabinet. That was so wimpy, unbelievable. What they really might have done is just simply made it available for free on the internet and asked for, say, a $5 donation anytime you got one. That's one thing they could have done. I mean, first of all, even the government admitted that there's no credible threat of anything actually happening. It was just a threat. And now you've got Kim Jong, chain-smoking dwarf, not only dictating what his people can watch, but what we can watch.
Yeah, this really sets a precedent for our future, doesn't it, Jim? If somebody doesn't wake up and just stomp the stuffing out of them.
Well, I'm sorry, but we've reached the point where we really don't have much choice. At some point, some president's going to have to do just that. We cannot keep taking this kind of crap from this little malignancy on the world body politic. That's exactly what's going to have to happen. And I'm sorry, but if we had dealt with them more firmly in the past, this wouldn't have been a problem. But through this ridiculous apology tours, followed by, gee, if we're just nice enough and self-effacing enough and apologetic enough, then the world will love us. I mean, that is naive to the point of being criminal on the part of Obama.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. Now, on this, what about, I was talking to Jeff Duncan, the Affordable Care Act. You know, you talk about all the things that were happening out there. The Affordable Care Act seems to be just accepted.
Oh, I don't know that it's accepted. I think it was one of the major reasons why the Democrats lost so many seats in Congress. I think it's a genuine water cooler, kitchen table topic that a lot of people are upset with. A lot of people are still remembering that if you like your health plan, you can keep it. If you like your doctor, you can keep him. I don't think that people are accepting it at all. They may accept the fact that it's here for now, but I would have no problem with the Republican Congress simply refusing to fund a penny of it. They have that power. Of course, they had that before the last election, revenue bills having to start in the House of Representatives.
Except literally, didn't they fund it for another year?
I believe they funded everything but Homeland Security.
Yeah. So that's. I just wonder. I know they're going to go after immigration here, but I just wonder whether Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, will be up there on their list of things to get done this year.
Well, there will be certainly a bill. There have been a number of bills that have been passed by the House to stop Obamacare that never made it to the Senate. Now they'll pass the House and the Senate and get vetoed by the President. So until we finally, as I say, make up our minds about governing the country, we're going to keep having the same problem.
Yeah, I guess they are. But on this, is there anything positive out there, Jim? I mean, you talk to people every night. One night, what were you talking about? Fruitcakes and what was it? Fruitcakes and
we have a poll that we do, and we talked about fruitcake. Yes, we did. But there are positive things to note. I mean, there really are. The economy does seem to be turning around in spite of this administration, not because of it, but it is nonetheless turning around. And I think we probably had a few other plus things to report, but at the government level, the policy level, I don't know we have that much positive. I think most of our positives will have to come from our interpersonal relationships and things that happen in our family and our friends.
Yeah, I think local government maybe is more where it's at rather than on this federal level.
To a certain extent, although, of course, one problem with local government is the lack of money to do a lot of things, and so many jurisdictions are unwilling to spend money. There are some things you got to spend money for. You have to have roads. You have to have schools. You do not, for example, have to have football stadiums, but you do have to have schools. And the public anymore, we've gotten used to the fact that we can live for free off the gross national credit card at the federal level and let our kids and grandkids pay for it. that a lot of people seem to think that local governments can do that too. No, local governments and state governments may not print their own money.
Well, we thought about that down here in South Carolina. It
Later,
didn't go over very big.
Pardon?
I said we thought about that down here in South Carolina. It didn't go over very big.
About
printing our own money.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty much not going to happen.
No, not going to happen. All right. Well, listen, I need to know. I mean, not on a, what's on your personal Christmas list this year, Jim?
Well, gee, I haven't really thought that much about it. I don't know that there's anything that's actually on my list. I'd have to think about that here, and I can't think of anything just right offhand that is on my list. Plus, I pretty much know the stuff I'm going to get anyway: neckties and cologne and handkerchiefs and underwear. So I don't worry too much about what I would want for Christmas, because I doubt I'll get it.
Well, you won't get it if you don't tell somebody you want it now, Jim.
Well, that's probably true too. But right off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that I seriously want that I don't have, actually, Anne. I mean, I do pretty well in life, and I'm quite happy. So in terms of material things, I can't think of anything. I'd have to really sit down and ponder that.
Okay.
There's something I really want. I pretty much have what I really want.
Okay. Well, then you are a very lucky person there, Jim Bohannon.
I am extremely lucky. Very blessed. Yes, I am.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I got a little joke that I wanted to share with you this morning before we get off the air. I don't know if you've ever heard this one, but have you ever heard the joke about the guy that got an ostrich because he wished for it? Well, he didn't wish for it, but he wished for something, and he ended up with an ostrich.
I did not hear about this.
Okay, all right. Well, a man walks into a restaurant with a full-grown ostrich behind him. The waitress asks him for their orders. The man says a hamburger, fries, and a Coke, then turns to the ostrich. What's yours? I'll have the same, says the ostrich. A short time later, the waitress turns and the order, and she comes back and she goes, "Sir, that'll be $9.40. He puts his hand in his pocket and comes out with the exact change, $9.40. This happens for about a week, and then they come in on a Friday night, and she asks him what they'd like, and he says, "I'll have a steak and a baked potato," and the works there. She brings the order. They both order the same thing. She tells him the bill is $32.62. And again, miraculously, his hand goes into the pocket and comes out with exact change, $32.62. Well, the waitress can't stand it. It's the same waitress every night. And she says, "Sir, I need to know, how can you do this every night, pull out exact change?" And the man says, "Several years ago, I was cleaning in the attic and found an old lamp. When I rubbed it, a genie appeared and offered me 2 wishes. My first wish was that if I ever had to pay for anything, I would just put my hand in my pocket and the right amount of money would always be there." "That's brilliant," says the waitress. "Most people would ask for $1 million, but you'll always be able to have money." "That's right." So then the waitress asks, "What's with the ostrich?" And the man says, "My second wish was for a tall chick with a big butt and long legs who agrees with everything I say."
Very good.
I thought I'd share that one with you, Jim.
I like that. Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, we sure wish you a Merry, Merry Christmas from down here in South Carolina.
And a Merry Christmas to you and everybody there. Really, seriously, that's a wonderful thing, and it's a happy time of year, and I certainly hope it is for you.
Absolutely. Well, you know where to call if you need a nice piece of jewelry, Jim Bohannon.
I surely will. I've done that, folks. You ought to check out what's available, seriously. Dark Bassett's got great stuff. Seriously, go check it out.
Absolutely. Well, Jim Bohannon, always a treasure to talk to you. Say hello to Annabelle for us, and Merry Christmas.
I will do so, and Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you, Anne.
All righty. Bye-bye, Jim.
Bye-bye now.